So today I'm going to be talking about a Torah verse called "Remove yourself from among this congregation; I shall consume them in an instant." And they fell on their faces. And this is from God talking to Moses and Aaron, specifically Moses. Specifically Aaron, to remove themselves from a group of people who had a plague. And what's interesting is that this Tuesday, this is not written here as part of what I'm sharing, but this Tuesday is the death anniversary of the Maggid of Mezrich. Mezrich had a plague, and he moved a few months before he died, to this place called Anipoli. And one of his students, Rabbi Zusha of Anipoli, was a famous disciple. The Maggid stayed in Mezrich. She was a teacher under the Baal Shem Tov, who is easily able to be seen on Google, but the Baal Shem Tov traveled around teaching what is called Hasidism, and it's a type of lifestyle and a type of thinking, and it's very oriented with positive possibility, really identifying as the highest power that we can be and continuing to achieve more expansion throughout the journey, so that nothing ever holds us in a limitation, but recognizing we have a body, we're not denying our limitations. So we are the spirit conscious choice between them. And he facilitated this traveling teacher's wisdom called the Baal Shem Tov. He facilitated it by staying in one place and sending out various students to go to different places to share this. So in Living Deeply, it's from Romamu, this program I was in. Now this is my third complete year, but I was also in a half a year before. So I've completed 2.5 years. Each year we get a verse. And this is a verse. So living deeply in a Hasidic way, Romamu is renewal. So it's Hasidic teachings from 300 years ago, renewed in contemporary spiritual practices. So in getting to the point now, the Mezrich, the Maggid of Mezrich is a person in a place that he actually used to teach that, and I'll be sharing about this in the future, but El is God, right? El is power, a godly power, and it's the numerical value of 31. And so is ich, I. And I, in Yiddish, ich, which is a secular language, is also 31. So it says there's an I, that's an L. There's a power, that's an I. And when you say I, so how much of I? So living deeply is a place where we learn about how to live more deeply from a deeper I. So it's very in line with just bringing in the Maggid in, because on Tuesday is his death anniversary. But now we're going to explore this quote where there was a plague going on, just the way the Maggid of Mezrich left a few months before the end of his life, because there was a plague in his city. So this idea of this plague, and now we have coronavirus plague, and so why were they told to remove themselves from the congregation? It's because they would not be saved, they would be part of the congregation. We have to choose which congregation we're in. Ada, which means congregation, also means a witness. So we have a congregation of witnesses who are seeing our eye that we're showing, and we see ourselves through others' eyes, and when we stay in I don't know, we're actually on a pathway of praise, because when you don't know, you don't have to judge yet, versus the prejudice is we are already deciding if it's good or bad. We have not even realized that it's a gift. So when we yield and surrender and give thanks, this is a practice of a lifestyle practice. There's this awe of presence. It tempers every action. This implicit gratitude is explicit awe, and it's in action a beholding. Everything we're looking at, everyone we're talking to, it's a beholding and a splendor. So then we say, God's with me, and I don't need to be afraid of humans. We don't need to feel alone in the narrowest places, or stay silent as if it's our fault. But instead, we allow the belief in the independence and resourcefulness of the aloneness being a wholeness, and believing that others' capacities are just as great. They're not going to feel abandoned when we allow their independence and resourcefulness to go alone, and we trust the dance that we do and the places that we find ourselves in, because we are honoring the true self. And accepting that we're perfect as we are, even if our critical eyes, this prejudice, preconceived notions, they're before conception. It's like we're looking for the gender of the baby before it's born, and then buying everything for the house, but then it turns out it's the other one. So honoring our true self is that the true gender, or the true real one, for example, that's an analogy, is to accept that we're perfect as we are, even if we see imperfections. It means we're addicted to an ideal. In the ideal, we're not here to serve because we're actually wanting the universe to serve us, to make us more comfortable. So in the if we take away the ideal and we take away the comparison of something that doesn't exist right now, we're actually remembering that what we're being guided by is a desire towards. So even those who we have trouble holding in our heart are created in the divine image. Everyone is in Selem, Elohim, which is multiple of the power. It's the power that births more versions of itself. It births into gravity. We'd say weather, but then we have storms, cyclones, wind, rain, and each of these, if you would combine all the power that makes rainstorms all over the world of all time, is incomprehensible. So we're able to say, if we're here to serve all of this, all of everything, which is much more beyond our power, then we're in the image of power, then we might have trouble holding in our heart. Actually, it extends to everyone because there's no other in the heart. So we trust God is what brings us out of the cloud of confusion. And what that feels like is often a fog where we don't know which way is up. And it's hard not to act from that place. We start kind of frantically swimming instead of realizing that, like, we could breathe. We can orient ourselves better when we recognize we're here to serve. We're supposed to orient and look at our surroundings instead of trying to make everything accommodate. So when we get too agitated, disorganized, clingy, it's because the fog is not, we're not merging into ourselves in the fog. Instead, we're forgetting that they need the fruits of our gifts most. So in those moments where in those moments that are the most cloudy, need us to practice the gifts that we have the most, because that's how we are ordained by our mystery. Because our mystery is that, are we going to be good or bad? We don't know yet. So when we're starting in this other path I'm talking about here, living deeply, is when we're trusting, we're honoring the true self, we have to have a vibrancy of the body, which is a feeling, and we don't have to figure anything out. It's a sense of the spirit that I talked about. We did a spirit guide meditation, is the conscious space between the infinite and the finite. So in that, we need guidance. So in the fog, in that, we need guidance. In that is the soul coming in, enters the body. That's the vibrancy. So we then can start to say, well, life is a gift. I'm feeling, I'm living, I'm alive. I am a gift. And that's being ordained in the mystery. Because if we have everything it takes, instead of focusing on what's wrong and making it serve us, we have everything it takes to relieve all agitation, all disorganization, clinginess, and darkness without doing anything yet, and just trusting something is revealed. That's when we're able to be in the mystery. And it does show for itself what's good and what's bad, because we're having the feeling, we're having the experience. And that's how we can even be open to the source and say, we want instruction. We want to be taught and shown and guided, because we want to feel those feelings more and continue to bring those feelings to others, because we know that instead of controlling everyone, but actually being happier, it has a bigger impact on our surroundings, mirroring that, and to some extent. And when they don't, it often pushes us deeper. Like when we're afraid of death, we try to cling closer to life. So even that could be learning all the time about what we have as a legacy. Like, I could die, let me make sure everything I do matters, and even my lineage, if I want to have something live on. So that's death teaching us, not the bad, evil death, but like the preciousness of life. So in not having to figure anything out, and having spirit guides, spirit guidance, and soul embodiment, and being helped, being guided, being protected in the physical world, the self we have in the moment is the only self we actually have. And in that is our healing, because we have the beauty of a second chance, another opportunity to return to God the Creator, the big picture, always another time to lean on and connect with God in the darkness or the fog, because that's when we know we're taken care of. That other times we might forget that we're doing all of it. And if we're actually in the fog, and then we could say, wow, there must be a reason I'm here to serve here, to be the light in this, that's to be just the amount of what I need is provided. Living that out is to take that implicit gratitude I mentioned and make it an explicit surrendering and an explicit action of awe into beholding, and that everything we look at, every angle we look at, is we see it's all provided, and we're protected from all the scorpions on the ground and the scorching sun that is above. And staying in the present is all that we're required to do, is that we aren't actually asked to make those ideals be real. When we're in the fog, where it's not something else, it's that all we're being asked is to actually show up, is to be there with it now, continuing to pause and listen to the divine voice of stillness and feel the presence of God here now, in that, which stones we put down and which we have to use as a cornerstone, and which stones we'll carry with joy and purpose and excitement and inspiration. And that is what I wanted to share today. And I will finished was saying we can kind of look at it as how we camp, how we dwell, how we rest is a good way to look at how we've been marching and moving. In other words, when we rest and everything opens and we stretch, all those crevices can be opened, we could see if there's dirt and stuff that got confused in that holding place, because as I said, just the amount of what we need is provided. It looks like maybe we were hoarding a little in the tight spots, and then we can know also that we're actually really taken care of. Just seeing that we didn't need that extra that we were going above and beyond to try to hold on to, we can see we're given the skills for all our missions and all our purposes, that the only self we really have is the one in the moment. That in and of itself shows us that maybe we can bring a little bit of a presence and a dwelling into the journey as we continue. It's not just getting to the destination and washing off the extras. It's on the way, a different kind of lifestyle, and a living deeply on the way, removing ourselves from anything that is the wrong witness, that we try too hard, or that we're in darkness, and or that only wants to look at us when we're beautiful. So that's our responsibility, each one individually, to be ordained by the mystery of life and be the gift and know life as a gift and tell the source, I want you to teach me and show me and guide me and bring the soul into the body, the infinite into the finite. And in that, find the self that is the only self we have right now.